Today out in the wood yard, we're gonna make this baby scream, and I got gin in here. Let's make a little wood.
Let's do it.
Okay, well, I thought I would do a little voiceover here and talk about the processing and what happens as you're going along, stuff like that where a log falls and you got to reach in and use the magic stick, which is the blue little hook there where we move stuff around the pickaroo. But yeah, when you're processing, stuff happens, and running pieces like this is really easy because they fit perfectly right there. You see how it fell in? It's just perfect. I mean, you don't have to do anything to it. One split basically and it's done with the 4-way on stuff that size. So that's probably about like an 8-inch or something like that stuff we're running here, which works really good. And I thought I'd do a voiceover and just kind of talk about all the things that can happen, because there's a section coming up here where all kinds of bad stuff happens and things that happen that I don't always show because, you know, I can't put everything into a video, but this one I thought I would talk about a little bit. So yeah, the saw actually is probably a little slow. You can't see it right now, but you can see the speed of the shadows it comes down. It's a little slow for this size stuff. We had slowed it down because we had some really big stuff, and when you got really big wood, you want it to go slower. You don't want it to cut too fast. But if you get stuff that's smaller like this, anything like, you know, 12, 14 inches and smaller, you can have the bar pretty fast, the bar speed. Okay, now, so here you see this one drop in. See that one fall off the edge there? What happened was one of them was only sitting on one of the stringers going out, and when I moved the pile forward on the live deck, the one fell off because that one wasn't loaded properly, which happened. So you can see it's splitting pretty much right down the middle there, which is nice on stuff like this. But every once in a while, you'll get a small stick, and it's really hard to get an even split because it'll shoot out to one side or the other. And your only other option, obviously, is to put in a wedge that's got 6 or 8, knives on it. But then you're destroying a lot of wood too. You're really crushing a lot of it and getting a lot of splinters and pieces. So ideally, you want to run the same size wood with the right size wedge. But this is not that kind of wood. It's all different sizes. We were kind of trying to pick out specific sizes here, so they're all fairly close. So that wedge was working really nice and getting really nice clean splits. You saw the tip-up tray come in there to hold the piece because it means it's getting to the end. And you'll see it again. So there goes that one's going through the ram. Now the tip-up tray should come up again. And then I'm going to drop down the clamp and then bring it out just a little bit. So I only got a little bit of the log sticking out. I'm going to cut just a piece off the end, and then that's going to go fine. Yeah, that bar speed's way too slow for that small stuff. It needs to be faster. But those are things you'll learn as you go. And then here, see how that flew in there? And I can't even use the rollers to get it in, so I got to reach in and bend over. And it's nice once in a while actually to get up out of the seat. And then here I tried to throw a second piece in that was bigger to get another split out of it, but it just went right over the top, so it was kind of useless. And you drop in, like here, see that part right there where I just dropped in 2 logs? I only wanted 1. So now I got to do some negotiating here. You got to back off the live deck, see if you can gather one out. And Jinnen over here he was loading the live deck, he brought in 4 pieces. And I'm going to give him some hand signals coming up here and telling him one at a time. You try to put a handful up there? I'm telling him no. I'm going to put my fingers up. I'm going to put one at a time. Not 2 or 3 or 4, just 1. I see how I just made my hands go? Like it's going to fall all over the place. Because I've done it enough to know that you only want to put 1 log in at a time. Even if you bring up 4, set them down, put 1 in on the live deck, then put another one. You can do 2 if you've got enough space and they're straight enough and they'll fall decently. But a lot of times they get on top of each other and that ends up being a mess. So that's something to think about. Now watch when the bar comes down. You'll see the spray come off the end. That is bar oil spraying. Right there. See that spray? Which you want some of that, but it was set too high. So eventually I went in there and I turned it down just a little bit because I was going through a lot of bar oil. But the trouble with that is you got to be really careful to not turn it down too far because I have done that. And then what happens is your bar and your chain are running kind of dry. That's not good. See, I got a log still up there, but I dropped another one in because that way Jinnen can drop in another log on the live deck. So once you've got room in the back end, I try to drop another one in. Oh, that was a bad one. If you saw that, I got a problem there. You see what happened there? The piece fall on me, and the clamp wasn't even holding it. So now I got to pull that out of there, and you got all that ragged stuff on you. That's going to be a problem. So I'm going to trim that off, I think, is what I do here. So I had to throw it back there. Now, if you got a big log up there, it's a pain. So here I'm going to bring the tray up, and I'm going to cut that piece off and then eject it out right there. It should fall out now because that was causing run. Now, see how that splintered also? So if you get split pieces with all those chunks, a lot of times that'll cause a problem. So I probably should have reached in there and threw that out because now it's going to be down in that tray. See, it's causing a problem. So unless you got perfectly straight, perfect wood, you're going to have problems. It doesn't work out like everybody thinks it does. You're going to have knots, you're going to have crotches, you're going to have bends in the wood. I call them snakes. It just causes problems. So you want to run as straight wood as possible because a processor is not like running a chainsaw where you can turn your chainsaw at different angles. You can work on your cuts. And if you get a crooked piece, a real snaky one with curves, you're going to have some angled cuts. And then what happens is it won't go through the wedges properly. What will happen is when it hits the wedge, it'll shoot up on the back of the ram because it's angled, and the ram is too smooth. There's not enough grip on it, and then you got problems. So there's just so many things to watch while you're running, and until you run a processor, you have no clue. I've had a lot of people say, oh, it's not that hard. I've run a lot of machinery. You get up there, you got 9 levers, and I think 4 of them do 4 different things, and you got to watch behind you. You got to make sure your wood is going up the elevator properly. You got to make sure your trailer is not getting overfilled or falling out. You got to make sure the guy loading you is loading you what you want. Oh, look at that one went sideways. Just crushed it. You could put in a 20-inch piece, stand it up in there, and you could push it through any wedge vertically. Thing's got so much power, it's just incredible. And there's some trash coming out, but that happens. You know, you can bend over and reach in there and fix every single one, but you're not getting any production done. So sometimes I get frustrated. I just ram them through. So here I got a cookie I'm going to be cutting off this end. It's the end of the log, and it doesn't fall out. See it drop down on the tray there, and now it's caught. So I got to lean over and take the pickaroon and shove it out of there. That's the most important lever on the whole machine, is that log right pickaroon, because you fix a lot of stuff with it. So there, ram that one through. Now the next log coming is a little bit bigger, you're going to see. And I'm not going to adjust the wedge, because if I was to split this right down the middle, yeah, all 4 pieces would be equal. But what happens then is, it does need to go up just a little bit. I'll probably go up just a little here, I think. Yeah, there we go. But what happens is if you have all 4 pieces equal, all 4 of them might need to be resplit. Whereas if I can trim off, so the bottom ones right there, well, no, that's pretty right down the middle. But if I can have the bottom ones be a little smaller, then they don't need to be resplit. All I got to resplit is the top 2 if they're a little bit big. So that's, sometimes I'll do that. But so you got to kind of be watching behind you. You got to be watching the guy loading the deck. You got to make sure your bar oil is going right. And then your chain can get loose on you, and it can fly off if you don't have it tight enough. And if it's too tight, that's bad too. That's really bad. If you get a log that has a bend in it and has a crotch on it somewhere that's not trimmed off properly, you can have a problem there. What will happen is it'll drop crookedly while the bar is in it, and it'll bend the bar, and the bar can do weird stuff. It can throw the chunk, it can tumble it, you can have stuff go flying out the front, stuff go flying out the back. There's just so much to watch when you're up there with that. Whereas with a circle saw, that circle saw is coming down, it's getting cut. Bar saw is a little more finicky, because I've run a circle saw, and they're pretty easy compared to a bar saw, in my opinion. But I haven't run a lot of them. I've only run a few different machines. So there you dropped one in it. And sometimes you could sit there and spin the log rollers forever and nothing happens. So you got to stand up and straighten it out so that you can run it through. So now I'm going to bring another log in. This is a bigger one yet. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, you just bring it up and clamp it down. And once you get your rhythm down, it's pretty good. And a lot of guys will tell me, well, why don't you drop another log in while your log is on, coming in at you there, because it doesn't always fit. You can't fit another log in there off the live deck. And right now, I'm watching the log get cut and then go through, and you see the bottom ones are a little smaller. So those are fine, but the top 2 will need to be resplit. I brought it down just a little bit more here. And then you're looking also, as you're cutting, to make sure that the bar is cutting properly, because if it starts jumping on you, you got to back off the speed or bring it up, and that's happened. If you get a branch that's not, it's attached to the piece, and you're cutting it, what will happen is just like when you cut with a chainsaw and you hit 2 things at one time, that chain will grab that and it'll either jam the chain so you lose all your power, or it'll start bouncing, or it'll throw that piece. I've had pieces go flying out the back, 20, 30 yards, just like a bullet shooting out of there. So you got to watch that and make sure no one's around there, which is the other reason why the plexiglass is kind of important. But the main reason I got the plexiglass, or the Lexan is what it is, in front of the viewing site there, I have it because the bar oil sprays so much right in your face. Because the machine right now, I'm facing into the west, and we usually have a west wind, and if you cut for any amount of time, your skin, your face, your clothes is just full of bar oil, because the wind is blowing right at you. So that helps a lot. But the problem is with that Lexan then is it obviously gets a lot of oil on it. The sawdust, as it comes off, starts sticking to it. So then your view gets blocked more and more and more. So then you got to wipe it off once in a while, which is why that rag's sitting right up by the panic button there. That's that red button kind of right in the middle next to my right hand, if you see it there. If something really happens bad, you hit that panic button, it shuts the whole machine right down. So that's something you got to be aware of. Because I bumped it with my knee right in the middle of leaning over to grab a log. So that was how I found out what it did, because I didn't even know. I kind of knew, but I didn't know how well it worked. So I got to straighten that piece out. So yeah, it's just constant. You're constantly on edge. And it's it's more tiring mentally in the processor than if you're cutting with a chainsaw. But if you cut all day with a chainsaw, your body's tired, but your mind is not tired. But boy, when you run that processor, there's so much to watch. It's just, it's hard to explain until you do it. And I talked to Jinnen at the end here. You're going to hear him talk about it a little bit. I told him, I said, my whole take on running a processor compared to cutting with a chainsaw. Cutting with a chainsaw is like going down a country road for a ride, 25 miles an hour and no traffic in your truck, where you're just kind of enjoying the scenery and being outside, and it's just enjoyable. Running the processor is like driving a semi in downtown Chicago. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot to see, a lot to worry about. You got so much going on. It's such a big machine. There's just a lot to do there. It's fun, but it's a lot harder than it looks. Here I'm cutting a cookie off. You see I dropped the tray there. Hopefully it goes well. Looks like everything's running really nice. And you pop the tray. Now the tray, a lot of times what will happen when you drop it down, the eject tray on the side there, a log that's up in the, or a split that's in the top of the wedge there will drop down, and then when you go to close it back up, it'll be in the way. That happens quite a bit, which means that probably my elevator is not fast enough. I might be running it too slow, or I have something jammed up underneath the wedges there and it's just not falling out. You really tend not to worry about that too much. You want to kind of watch what you're doing out front, and as long as the logs don't jam up on you, your split pieces, and they gradually go up the elevator, you're okay, because you got so many other things to watch. There the wedge needed to come up just a little bit because I got a single split on that one, so I must have dropped it for the other one. But I can see that bar speed is just a little slow on this right now. There see that one did some weird stuff. There must have been a knot there. That's the other thing. You hit knots, sometimes the split doesn't go the way you plan. Yeah, a piece shot back at me. Must have been in the elevator. That happens. And there, sometimes that happens too, though. You get a piece that just fits in there perfectly, it'll just stand up. So like I said, the pickaroon gets used a lot. There's something coming up here, I think. I have a double drop off of the live deck. I have 2 logs that fall in. I think it's on coming up here fairly soon, if I remember right. And there's several ways I have worked with dealing on having only one log come. Sometimes you can use the pickaroon to reach in there, and you hold on to one and then back off the there I got 2 in there, but I think it's far enough forward that it's not going to be an issue. So what you do is you hold on to one log over the top, you sink the pickaroon into it, and then run out the trough backwards, so you get rid of one of the pieces, not out the back totally, but you just move it to the back, almost like the back end of the other log, and that way you can do it. And another thing I do is if they're 2 different sizes, sometimes I can use the clamp to hold one piece while another one comes in, or sometimes you can block a piece with the clamp. So there I'm just trying to get the rollers to get it to do something here. Sometimes I use a tip tray. I'll give it a slap with the tip tray to make it go up, but that didn't work either. And then the other thing is I'm looking, as someone's loading me, I look and see, can I drop another log into the trough so they can drop one on the live deck and get back to work? Oh, I'm just putting one of my GoPros. I got a magnet GoPro right there. I'm going to put it there. And I think you probably already saw some of this footage. I might have put it somewhere else. But yeah, I'm just putting a GoPro on there to get some of the ram pushing logs from me. I only had it on there for a little while, and then it eventually got hit. There, another one stand up on me. At least it's a nice straight cut, so you got that. But they stand up and you can't do anything, so you got to reach over and push them through. So again here, I'm only getting a little bit of a split on the bottom. I need to raise that wedge up just a little bit. But again, like I said, there's so much going on. Sometimes you don't even worry about it. You just keep the machine running. Right there was a good split on that one because I got nice 4 small pieces out of it like I like. And there I'm going to cut a cookie again here. So yeah, I reach over and hit the tip out tray, and it should, nope, see, didn't fall out, dropped right in. So you got to reach over and throw it out. Your option is just ram it through. You can drop another log in like the next piece and just ram it through and pick it out later. I mean, you can do that too. So here I think I got another log dropping in. Yeah, there we go. 2 dropped in, and right now I'm saying to myself a bunch of bad words, because when 2 drop in, it's not fun because you can't cut 2 at once. It's just a mess. So I think what I'm trying to tell them. Oh, the trailer was getting full. I'm having to move the trailer. So let's see how I deal with this double log. I can't remember now. I think I bring one forward and maybe I block one You know, I just jiggle them back and forth. Sometimes you try to get one to hook, and then sometimes what I'll do is oh, there, I just jiggled it out of the way is what I did. Sometimes you can get it to where you just go back and forth with the trough and have the intake bring one in and you can back the other one off. Sometimes it doesn't work. They're hooked together and you cannot move them. So we just got done running the processor and we ran a trailer load full, which is not full, but it's close. So it's not quite 2 full cords, it's probably 5 face cords or so, because that's a pretty big size trailer. And we had the 4-way wedge on, which is not ideal for big wood, and we had some big wood in there we mixed in. So eventually we cut down to the smaller little poles that are, you know, like the 5, 6, 7, 8 inches, which are not too bad then. You can lower the wedge down because we had some really big chunks there and I don't want to do tons of resplitting. And you had run a processor before, you said, a Dyna, right?
Yep, we rented a Dyna SC15 last year. And renting that, I knew there were a lot of work then. It's just a lot to think about, a lot to keep it loaded, a lot to check oils on things, a lot to make sure nothing's getting jammed, keep your trailer like moved.
Watch your bar speed, watch your bar tension, watch the other people, watch the logs if they're crooked ones, if they're in there slightly angled.
You want nice wood.
Snakes, you want good wood. There is a lot. And then running the levers.
Running the levers. So the Dyna the Dyna didn't have near the amount of levers as this does. This has a lot more features. So this was a lot more to pay attention to, make sure you're grabbing the right lever, because I did grab the wrong lever a few times.
Oh yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, this has got, Dyna probably didn't have a log roll.
It did not have a log roll.
Probably didn't have an eject.
Nope.
We probably had a clamp though, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I had a clamp. It was just 2 joysticks, and I got really good at it and I could run it really efficiently. I feel like I did a lot better with it than this one. But it was harder to see things.
Right.
It didn't have a lot of features, but this one, just for a rookie getting into it, it's a lot to take in. So if you're on YouTube and you're telling somebody, you should do this, you should do that, why don't you come out, go buy one, run one, and see how good you are, because it's not just...
It's a lot harder than it looks. I told you that when you started. It looks like you're smooth when you watch someone that's really good with it. And because Bert and I have run the 48C that we ran up at Ed Rurup's place, it's a joystick and it's real easy to learn real fast what you got to do. Within 10 minutes you got it. Whereas this, half an hour and your brain's fried.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, okay, what do I got to do next? Because there's 9 levers. I think 4 of the levers do 4 things.
Oh yeah.
And there's just a lot going on there.
Just running it for probably the half an hour I did, I felt more drained mentally than I did cutting and splitting all day. My body would hurt more, but like I actually feel tired right now. It's a different kind of tired, and this is how I felt last time I ran a processor too.
It's probably like taking your truck for a slow 25-mile-an-hour ride out in the country with no traffic versus driving a semi in downtown Chicago.
That is a great comparison.
That's the difference.
Very, very good comparison.
That's about what it's like. So yeah, there's a lot to do, but it's kind of cool and it's fun. We'll have to do some resplits on this and all that, but so it worked really good. So you gonna get one? Not yet.
I don't think I will ever buy a processor.
Because you like doing what you do?
I like doing what I do, and if you're not going to do a ton of wood like yourself, it doesn't make sense financially to buy one. And
you got to produce quite a bit.
You do. Yeah, you need to keep it going.
Yep, you got to feed the beast, just like any other machine you buy. You can't justify it just because you like it or want it or it's going to be fun. You justify it being that what will it do for you? Will it save time? Will it save effort on your body? And most importantly out of all those is, will it make you money? Yeah. Because there's no sense having a machine just to have fun with it. It's got to actually make you money. I shouldn't say that there's no sense you can't have a machine to have fun. There's nothing wrong with that, but in a business, it's you got to be profitable.
I'm here to have fun, but I'm also not here to lose money,
Yeah, exactly. But there's people that do that and think they can't figure out what's wrong. Why am I not making any money? Well, you spent, $500,000 on a truck, a trailer, a tractor, another trailer, this and that, and all the other things, and then they tried to find some customers.
That's a lot of $500,000. It's a lot of money to repay and a lot of wood to sell.
Yes, it is. That's why I always say start small and grow as you go.
Yeah, I don't think for a lot of people, I know being a smaller producer of firewood, it seems like the goal is processor. If I get a processor, I can be big time. A processor should not be everybody's long-term goal.
No, there's a lot of guys that do firewood that just get a really good commercial splitter and a decent chainsaw and a decent truck and a decent trailer, and they can make some good side money.
Yep.
That's where you got to decide. Because there's steps. There's a guy that just has a little saw, cuts a little wood for himself. The next level would be provides wood for a few people he knows. The next level is, hey, I make some spare change. And then the next level is, hey, let's invest in some equipment, make more money, maybe have an additional whole nother income.
Yeah.
And then the next level from that is, hey, it's a real business, it's hire people.
Yes.
It's where do you want to be?
But what I mean is people think that if I get a processor, it removes the labor. In my opinion, it adds a different kind of labor of keeping everything going. You need perfect logs. This is an expensive machine to keep going. It's got a lot of wear items. I mean, it's not $1,000 chainsaw to rebuild. I mean, it's got a lot of expensive parts on it, you know?
Yeah, they work great when they're working. This thing's been great so far though. I mean, I've learned a lot over the time that I've had it. I mean, I didn't know anything coming into it, to not ever run this kind of a machine before. And to learn all the little things you need to know has been a real experience. I had like just a little bit you saw of it here. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Watching on YouTube is totally different than doing it.
Yeah, I don't want to see any more of these comments. You don't know how to do it. Learn this, learn that.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that have good suggestions too, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things people will mention to me like, well, I never thought of that. That's a good idea. Those are pretty rare.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But they do happen.
Yeah, they do.
They do happen. So that's very good. So that's it for today, folks. You know what to do, poke the buttons. I'll be back tomorrow with another video for you. I think we're gonna do a video tomorrow. Let's do it on an electric chainsaw.
It just came out, hit the market.
Let's do that.
Probably 2 weeks ago, actually.
Awesome. So we're gonna do that on tomorrow's video. So come on back. Right now, go watch some other videos. It'll be good for you to put hair in your chest.
765 guys, you need to check it out.
There you go, that's the guy. And what time is it?
It
Time to say
goodnight, Irene.
there you go.